on the year, and he joins us live from Fenway Park in Boston. Derek, great to see you. Another great outing last night and your first win as an opponent in Fenway Park. What was that like for you?
Well, it was, I've been listening to you guys talk, and, those early runs, they're a starting pitcher's best friend. And, it was the second time I pitched here. It's funny, last time I pitched here with the Braves, I pitched against Josh Beckett, and I think he threw a 2 or 3 hit complete game shutout against us. So, even though you have a 7-1, 7-0 lead, whatever it is, in this park, I mean, we all know, that Green Monster is pretty close, and, they can score a lot of runs pretty fast. So, you still had to bear down, and I didn't do a very good job. It seemed like every single inning, I know besides the first, there were people on base, but we were able to somehow get out of it.
D-Lowe, it's Jason here, and you've gotten off to a really hot start. Coming in this season, what were your expectations once you got traded?
Just to get back to pitching the way, I know I need to do, and that's throwing a lot of sinkers. Last year I became predominantly a breaking ball pitcher, and, I know I needed to get back to, pounding the strike zone with sinkers. I look at, I've given up a lot of hits, but I'm fine with that because, you're always one pitch away from getting a double play and get out of the inning. So, I couldn't have asked for a better start.
Derek, let's talk a little bit about what happened with Josh Beckett last night. You're a guy that played with the Red Sox for a while, and you know that the media market and the fans there can be a little bit tougher than, let's say, someplace like Cleveland or even Atlanta or someplace like that. Beckett gets booed off the mound, and, off he goes. For you, when you pitched there as a Red Sox, what was that like dealing with that sort of atmosphere in Boston?
Well, I was kidding during the game, and actually when it happened, I remember a game here in 2001. I was the closer at the time and doing a very poor job of that, and I blew a 3-run lead in no time, and it happened to be Derek Lowe poster night, and they threw these things back on the field like airplanes. 10-minute delay, took me out of the game. It's funny because even to the day, if you watch me walk off the mound, I walk off the mound with my head down, and I learned that very early just from pitching here, man. You have a bad inning, you walk off the mound, you don't want to make any eye contact with any of these people. So, it is. It's part of it. I think, it just, it's one of those things where you realize that they're beyond passionate, and, and sometimes, especially in those post-game interviews, if you say the wrong thing, it can last with you for a long time.
And Derek, how much did an experience like that help you now later in your career, going through something like that?
Well, it makes you stronger. If you can pitch here and pitch poorly and find a way to get through it, you're better off for it. And I think, they love you and then they hate you at the same time. But you have to learn how to deal with failure, and you can't hide here. Everything you do is going to be underneath the microscope and on and off the field. So, it's definitely made me a stronger person and a smarter person.
Derek, you've been a part of a lot of groups, a lot of good clubhouses. You've been in the World Series a couple times. This group right now in the clubhouse atmosphere, what's it like?
It's great. I think, being back in this town, there's been, every time you come back, I know it's only the second time, people always, media-wise, we always end up talking about the 04 team. And the one thing I always say is the chemistry was fantastic, and we're getting there. We really are. It's a great group of guys. We all get along, and for people that don't think chemistry is a huge part of this game, they're mistaken. Like I said, we're every day we're getting a little bit stronger. As far as getting to know absolutely everybody, knowing when you can get on guys, when you can't get on guys, and it's a young, energetic team, and we feel like we're a first-place team, and we're planning on playing like this for the next 4 months.
Finally, Derek, before I let you go, every one of your wins has come after a Tribe loss this year. You've truly been that veteran stopper. How do you be able to do something like that? It takes something special to come out and stop losing streaks. What are your keys to doing that and keeping this team right where it's at?
I have them score 7 runs every time I pitch. It definitely helps. I've always believed you can't control what happened before you, or win or lose. Your job is to go out there and pitch to your best ability. And I think, I've never been a guy to, just because we may have lost 2-3 games in a row, to put that added pressure on yourself. This game's hard enough. So again, I think just from playing a long time, you realize your job is to pitch the best you can that day and not really worry about what happened the days before.
Hey, Derek, great stuff tonight. Enjoyed talking to you. Great start to the year. We'll talk again soon.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Derek.